So I'm sure some of you, maybe many, have seen the headline. DOJ urges Supreme Court to turn away Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. But do you know the real backstory behind this? Do you know the real case and why it was in front of the Supreme Court? And why now Bondi may have chosen to simply put this through? Oh, it's more sordid than you may have thought. But, of course, it involves Epstein. What's ever black and white? And why aren't you ever being told the complete story? But I'm going to give you all the details here in just 1 minute. So this case of Ghislaine Maxwell, Pam Bondi, the DOJ, President Trump, the twists and turns, right? Who is currently serving, Ghislaine Maxwell, a 20-year prison sentence for conspiring with and aiding Epstein in his sexual abuse of underage girls. Now, there's many more charges within this case, including sex trafficking. Now, of course, with the updates in the Epstein case, that it simply doesn't exist. Everything's done. There is no files. People are questioning why Ghislaine Maxwell is still in prison. So maybe Pam Bondi would just simply drop everything. That's not what she did. Trump's DOJ urges Supreme Court to reject appeal from Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell. And I'll show you what grounds they are asking for this to be dropped, why it made it to the Supreme Court, why now the DOJ is saying, no, Supreme Court, we don't want you to hear it. We don't want any appeal. We want her to stay right where she is. I know it would appear that the two stories don't coincide, but there may be something else. Because she just, leaked something out to the press. She's got something, and she'd really like to speak to Congress about it. I know the details are sordid. Now, before we go any further, I want to give you a special thank you. So many of you have hung in there for all the years, and the channel was expanding immensely. So much that, it appears someone decided it had to stop immediately. So please, can you do me a favor? Double check if you're subscribed, because when you go from thousands a month to negative numbers and you haven't changed your content, you got to scratch your head a little bit. So please double check. Maybe they're just cleaning house a little bit, which would be normal in some of the systems. But if you're new here, I'd love you to subscribe if you like this sort of content. The way I present it is black and white as humanly possible. Those of you who have joined as members, thank you so very much. That truly keeps the lights and cameras on. And I'm thankful to also some sponsors that come along and also help me keep the lights and cameras on. One of those is Chapter. I've already saved my members thousands of dollars. I hope you know who Chapter is. I like to only part to certain people. And what Chapter does is they're licensed Medicare professionals. Medicare is full of fraud, waste, abuse. We've heard it all. It's what I cover here day in and day out. And what they offer is a free service. By making one free phone call to 805-619-5011, 805-619-5011, you get a person, not a robot, who can go through all your options for Medicare in your area, sort through it all, and maybe you have the best plan and maybe you don't. But with one free phone call, you could determine which is which. Again, they're not creepy salespeople. I can't stand that. No, they're licensed Medicare professionals there to help you weed through the mess, use their technology to see what options are available to you, and truly determine if you got the best package or not. The average person who calls Chapter saves $1,100 a year. Now, who couldn't use that back in their pocketbooks, right? You trust me to give you the news? Trust me to make this one phone call. 805-619-5011. 805-619-5011. And a system that's designed to take from you, it's time to take something back. Give them a call today, but now let's get back to this broadcast. So years before Epstein died in jail, while on federal charges related to the sexual abuse of dozens of minor girls, he was accused of almost identical allegations as Ghislaine Maxwell was. But what happened to him? And this is what this whole case centers around. It is at the Supreme Court. He was able to cut a deal. I think it was 2008. Glad I looked because I almost gave the wrong date. Where he pled guilty to state charges of soliciting and procuring a minor for prostitution. This deal allowed him to avoid a possible life sentence, and he instead served 13 months in a work release program. Ghislaine Maxwell, 20 years in prison. But as a part of this deal, Epstein successfully fulfills all of his terms and conditions of the agreement. The United States also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, which was shocking to say the least, including, but not limited to, 4 of Epstein's assistants. Allegedly, at the time, Maxwell was not among the 4 women named. Actually, not allegedly, she was not. She contests, however, that blanket covers her. The U.S. government says it does not. They were not even aware of her at the time. So she pushes it to the Supreme Court. Despite the existence of non-prosecution agreement, promised in plain language that the United States would not prosecute any co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein, the United States, in fact, prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell as a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein. The United States says, well, that's not really all of the United States. That was kind of Florida only. You make the determination. We're getting into legalese. The DOJ also contends, even if the co-conspirator clause could be read to apply nationwide, as Maxwell claims, there is no evidence that the parties who negotiated the NPA intended for the co-conspirator clause to benefit Maxwell. Got it? The government was not even aware of Maxwell's role in the Epstein scheme at the time. That's the case. Kick it up to the Supreme Court. We'd like to appeal. Pam Bondi comes out and says, stop everything. Nope. Supreme Court, I don't want you to take this case. Could have left it at that, not covered the article, except it appears Ghislaine Maxwell has something she'd like to talk to Congress about. Just days before Pam Bondi makes this announcement. Now, it could have been that Ghislaine Maxwell knows that this announcement was coming out. Maybe. I don't know. I present, you decide. I just give you the facts here. Daily Mail. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is ready to reveal truth of the list, says insiders. So why are Republicans blocking her? Well, everybody's blocking her. This isn't Republican or Democrat, in my opinion, whatsoever. Now, a source said, despite the rumors, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal. She would be more than happy to sit before Congress and tell her story. No one from the government has ever asked her to share what she knows. She remains the only person to be jailed in connection with Epstein, and she would welcome the chance to tell the American public the truth. Now, what that truth is, we'll probably never know. Do you actually think they're going to call Ghislaine Maxwell in front of Congress to testify and not know exactly what she's going to say? There is no way in hell that's going to happen, and hence why no one's called her. And now Pam Bondi comes out and says, Supreme Court, don't take her appeal. We're just trying to clean this whole mess up right now. There's no list, no further prosecutions, except Ghislaine Maxwell. We're going to keep that one going. The source said congressional hearings have been held into everything from JFK's assassination to 9/11. The Epstein files rank up there among those cases. And the majority of the American public would agree with that statement. Ghislaine would be willing to speak before Congress and tell her story. What say you? Will she ever appear before Congress? Will her story ever be told? Folks, it's a scary position she put herself in right now. Especially with the reaction from Pam Bondi immediately thereafter, within a day or so. Supreme Court don't hear it. Everything's gone away. Hey, by the way, Bongino showed up back at work again. For now. But what did I tell you? Several days ago, on both here and Lisa Haven's channel and at Restricted Republic, Pam Bondi was going nowhere. I hope you understand why I said that now, because it's been proven out thus far by President Trump, who out of all the people he has cited multiple times he supports more than anyone else, it's Pam Bondi. She is the centrifuge of many cases he's working on and the one that will follow his orders implicitly. And that he has always preferred. I can't wait to see your opinions in the comments below. I'll leave you with one clip from Megyn Kelly. Kind of interesting how she outlines this. But before I do, The next story, I'm going to kick this podcast over, as I always do, at Restricted Republic. Continue on to things I'm not always comfortable discussing on public platforms because Elmo just went full Nazi. Oh, in hacked posts, the content of which I can only share at Restricted Republic because I would have to filter out half of what the hacked post put up right when PBS defunding is still being, well, somewhat negotiated in Congress. Timing is everything. Wasn't it just Hakeem Jeffries who had Elmo up on the congressional floor? And now suddenly that account is hacked. The story's a little bit more twisted than that. I hope you'll join me at Restricted Republic. I'll leave you with Megyn Kelly. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless Justice Knight. Signing out.
Either Pam Bondi is royally screwed up. I mean, she has. That's not in dispute. She's royally screwed up. And the president is just forgiving her because she's a loyal soldier and, you know, he likes her and he doesn't want to go through the messy confirmation process of getting somebody else in there. So that's possible. That's definitely a possible number one. And there's no there in the files anyway, right? Like the way she screwed up was overpromising when she didn't have the goods and she genuinely doesn't have the goods. And so the big mistake was overpromising and the president doesn't really care about that mistake. Or there is something there and it's being covered up and the president blessed it.
I'm not a huge fan of Ben Shapiro, but if you rewatch that about 5 times and watch his eyebrows, you can pretty much tell what he believes. I love you all. Thanks for keeping attention. You always know sometimes I'll slip in at the end. It's interesting. I'd love to know what your thought is on that whole thing. I know it can change by the day based on the information we're being provided, but gosh, this is a freaking disaster no matter how you look at it because, well, a lot of us now, we ain't letting it go. Promised you I wouldn't. And this little update, the updates keep flying in, right? They just want to get this thing gone. They want it done. They want it out of here. Don't want to discuss it anymore. Well, that's convenient for them, but not righteous for us. Talk to you next time.